Hey, good morning, everybody. It's early on Sunday morning before Labor Day, and I'm at a local, you can probably see it in here, local airport, like a small community airport, shooting the second half of senior photos for my niece. You might have seen I shot some photos on the Canon 85mm f2 with the R6 Mark II. Today we're doing something a little different, so let me show you what I've got going on here. I'll get my bag out. We're going to try to prove that you can shoot photos, good photos, with a consumer camera. Now, I'm not doing this just for the sake of prove something and like make YouTube clicks. For me, you know, like, okay, here's an example. I do have my Nikon ZF with me. See this bad boy? And the 7180 on it. This is a monster setup. And this is good for like shooting sports and my kids and stuff like that. But the reality is it's a big camera. And so what I find myself doing most of the time is actually, I'm getting a phone call, is actually carrying my Fuji or any smaller camera with me all the time. So today we're going to try and shoot this entire shoot on the Fuji X-T30 Mark II. And I have two lenses. I have the 33mm 1.4, and I also have the Sigma 18-50. So the thought is the 33-1.4 I can use for some of the portraits with the bokeh, and the 18-50 I can get a little wider or a little tighter if I need to be. And I'm kind of trying to prove to yourself that you just need really like one good standard travel zoom and then one good prime. You can get most done. We do have Godox trigger and flash to do some off-camera flash stuff, and we're going to see if we can make some good images with that. I only brought the ZF because in case I need it for something, like these are pictures I have to deliver to, you know, my niece and her family, so I don't want to shortchange them. But I think the X-T30 Mark II makes a great travel camera because it's got a little built-in flash, and you can put a small pancake on it, but you can also adapt it to this. So I'm trying to do an X-T30 Mark II with some decent lenses and see if I can make that work for this portrait session. That's what we're trying to do. Okay. I like this. Let's try a couple angles. Make it back up a little bit. Let's see. Like, I think it's got to be like this. The only problem is there's this bar right here. That's a problem.
Try like sitting up more.
And that's why I wonder if the back one has no interference. You might want to do the back one.
Okay.
Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back. Another video, another basement. Got my deer back here. We're recording on the Nikon ZF with the 35 1.4. Got some thoughts on this lens. Yes, I have the ZF again. But that's not what this video is about. As you saw from the beginning of the video, I recorded that on my iPhone, and just a little intro I did there. Talking about, or I guess the intent of this is, do you really need big cameras like this? Or I guess the answer is we know we don't, but what are the drawbacks, or what are the capabilities of shooting with maybe a more travel-friendly or consumer camera versus a prosumer or a professional camera? Something like this. This is the Fuji X-T30 right here. Now, you guys remember I made a video, an Ask Me Anything video, and I asked, or somebody asked me, what's cameras I regret selling? And it's cameras like these I regret selling probably the most out of any of them. X-T30, X-T30 Mark II, I guess you could lump the X-T50 in there. I never had that, but you could. XS10, XS20, OM5, EM5, those types of cameras that offer the ability to be small, but still have enough, I guess, professional features to get things done. So in particular, the X-T30 here, right, I like the fact that it's got control wheels on both sides. See if I can get it to focus. Control wheels on both sides. I still have the SCM switch on the front, and you know, has a flash built in. I made a video about this camera, so if you are interested in my thoughts on it, I really like this camera. It's got its own drawbacks for sure, but you can kit it out, add a grip, and you know, add a couple other things, a thumb rest to make the ergonomics a bit better. And the reason why I like these cameras is because you can throw something like the 27mm f2.8 pancake, or you know, Fuji has a 18mm f2, or you can get any third-party lens. TT Artisans make lenses, that kind of stuff, to go on here, and it still fits in your jacket pocket. And I still have the ability to like save film simulations, and I can still do video with this if I have to. No IBIS, that kind of stuff. And so my point being is that if this is something I really like to use for travel, for every day, day in, day out, documenting my family, well, could I use it for professional? And so I didn't shoot this obviously with the 27-28. As I mentioned in my video, the beginning of this, I brought the 33mm 1.4 Fuji lens. This guy right here is a really, really good lens. I call this the Fuji Apo. These new 1.4s are really, really good. They lack some of the clinical, some of the character that the older 1.4, 1.2 lenses had. But these new 1.4 lenses are very, very sharp, and they're very, very clean, and they're very, very good lenses. The other lens I brought with me, just in case I need to get a little bit wider and have some variation, was the Sigma 18-50. I think this is probably Fuji's best overall travel lens, and obviously it's not made by Fuji, but 2.8 throughout the entire range, 18-50, that's like what, about 27 to 75 focal length equivalent, and it's small, and yeah, just a really, really good lens for Fuji. It's probably their best like standard zoom, in my opinion, for the money. And then I paired it with this X Pro F wireless trigger here by Godox. You see this thing right here? I'm just testing autofocus, obviously. And then I compared it with this, I won't take it out of here, but it's a TT600 Godox flash. And the point being is that this is probably one of the cheapest flashes you can buy that does high-speed sync off of Amazon, at least that I could find. And that trigger wasn't expensive either. And so, you know, taking a kit that you might carry with you every day, the camera's less than $1,000. You could put any myriad of lenses on there, but I, you know, picked a lens a little bit more pricey, but you could pick any lens really. Get a, you know, $400 or $500 lens if you wanted to, or even less. And then, you know, pairing it with $150 of flash equipment, can you get professional looking photos? And I think from the results that I showed you that you can. It's really more about lighting. I would say the most important thing to my my portrait work, if you call it that lately, as I'm learning it, by the way, I'm not claiming to be a professional though, is lighting. It's using off-camera flash. And that was an extremely challenging situation because we got started real late in the morning and the sun was already really high and it was a really bright day. It wasn't cloudy. And so I was fighting harsh shadows. I was fighting, you know, lens flare, even though the 33 is really good at it. I was fighting like just crazy backlighting. And you have to find a way to kind of put that sun off to a 45. We rotated the plane around a bunch of times to kind of offset that, and then use the flash, you know, in a natural way to kind of offset any shadows and stuff that you'd get from the sun being so bright and kind of high off to the back end. And I think it did a really, really good job. There were a few drawbacks though. For one, this X-T30 Mark II only has a mechanical shutter speed max of 1/4000. I often needed to be at 1/8000 or more for the 1.4 aperture that I had on this lens. And so I went to electronic shutter a few times. It did a good enough job because there wasn't motion, and so that wasn't really an issue. The other challenge is that because I was shooting at such high power on the flash with high speed sync, that the recycle times on this particular flash were really, really slow. And I ended up blowing through a brand new set of all AA batteries in just the one shoot because I was using so much power in the flash to offset the light, the sunlight that was out there. And I actually lost the flash at the end of the shoot. So some of the photos I showed you, you can tell like I'm purposely using the shadow of the wings or whatever to put my subject completely in shadow so that it was not, wasn't casting shadows on her face and that kind of stuff. So all that to be said, I want to encourage you that whatever camera you have, whether, I'll use Fuji as an example, if it's an XS10 or X-T30 or I don't know, whatever, just fill in the blanks, an older X-T3, they're all very, very capable of doing everything you need. It's just some of the newer cameras have better IBIS or better battery life or better autofocus. Unless it's Fuji, they made their autofocus worse recently. That's a different story. You don't really need all that. And the flip side of that is like this Nikon ZF that I'm shooting on right now, this video, I've said this in like 3 videos. It's a big camera.
the reality is I picked this combination up 99 times out of 100 because it's just so much more portable and compact and makes great images, and I have good film simulation straight out of camera than I do this Nikon ZF right now, because it's just a bigger setup. With all that being said, the Nikon ZF does have better image quality, does have better autofocus, and I will show you guys a video in the future on this 35-1.4, and I will also show you a video on the 70-180 lens. I'm going to take it and do some cheerleading photography photos of my daughter here in the next few days. So I don't know what the point of this video is other than the consumer cameras that they sell nowadays are often good enough, and they offer a lot of advantages over something like a bigger camera because it can be smaller, more compact, and travel with you. Yeah, you might lose weather sealing. Yeah, you might lose 2 card slots. Yeah, you might lose the bigger battery. Maybe it doesn't have the newest, fastest processor or newest, fastest sensor, but like we're at this point of diminishing returns in cameras where today's $800 camera, for what you're going to probably do, can keep up with the $2,000 or $2,500 or $4,000 camera. It's not until you get into like very specialized wildlife, sports, action, or like maybe you're doing adventure stuff where you need to really buy into those more expensive camera bodies. And so I would encourage you, as this is much a gas channel, to just kind of learn the camera that you have and pair it with some good lighting and go have some fun. In fact, one of the things I'm thinking about doing is shooting the sports portraits for my son's hockey team, and saving the parents a bunch of money, but I've got to figure out the lighting and that kind of stuff. And that's my biggest challenge. It has actually nothing to do with the camera. I could shoot it on just about anything. It has everything to do with the lighting and getting it right. So with that being said, guys, thanks for watching. And again, this was the Nikon ZF with the 35-1.4 straight out of camera. I'm just using the portrait setting. I feel like the blacks are a little too crushed. I can see it in the screen right there, but whatever. All right, see you in the next one. Bye.